Oh, hello, lovely. Okay. Thanks. All right. Well, you know that there's no such thing as a free dinner or a free lunch or free anything. So I will call you back to order. We have the last part of today's session. To me, I know that some of the insights that we give in this session, or what we call the business session, are seemingly less interesting to you, but it is the moment in which I believe, or I feel, yes, thank you, that you are the shareholders of the organization that I run. Yes, if you want to look at it from an industrial or a commercial perspective. And therefore, it's important for us to share the insights and updates for you all. I regularly update our boards on different aspects, but it's an important time for us to interact with you face to face. We also, of course, are very conscious of the people who are online or are not attending this plenary, which many of our members don't. So this session will finish at 6 p.m. to allow those of you who are getting the ferry to get on the right one and go to the right dinner. It will finish at 6. It focuses on some few updates from me, an insight onto our new web platform from our new web platform provider, who will join us online. And then the last part of the session is dedicated to the future of the next 5-year strategic plan. So let's use the clicker, yes. The vision and the mission and the value. So I spoke to them yesterday, and in the interest of saving time, I will not repeat them. I always talk about them, but please, they are always to be borne in mind from when we talk to you from the organizational perspective as well as from the work. Yeah. I do talk about RDA as a family. To me, that's important. I want to give you some highlights on each of the 3 pillars of our family. So the first pillar of the family are the individuals who do all the amazing work that we have. And, you know, if you look at the growth, it's been a steady growth over the 10 years. And we are very pleased with that, and it's great to have such a vibrant community. I also like to remind you that being a member of RDA is free. It is, we ask you to adhere to the guiding principles and the code of conduct, but we don't say that you have to drive or get involved on a certain level or interact on a certain level of activity. With our new web platform, that will remain to be the case. RDA is open to all. But what I think I would like to say is the more you give, the more you get in RDA. And I think that's what I feel from many of our members. So all are welcome. And I appreciate that some people find it challenging to understand how to get involved, or maybe don't feel comfortable contributing virtually or things. But our members are, you know, drivers, contributors, observers, maybe just downloaders. So the heart, of course, of the individual work, as you know, is through the groups and the different activities that we have. And that's where I see the, you know, individual component of the family working so hard and working away. And we also appreciate that navigating RDA is one of the most difficult things, because we are purposely or multidisciplinary, technological and multi-country. Therefore, how do you understand what RDA is doing? How do you identify areas that are of interest to you? Again, we hope that the new web platform, which you will hear more about, will help us in that endeavour. And it's great to have the problem of actually being able to navigate so much content. I think that we should look at the positives as well. But 2 of my colleagues on the Secretariat, together with support from the Technical Advisory Board, have done a fantastic job in providing you with a very simple PDF interactive tool that you can download from Zenodo around the different pathways and different themes that have been chosen by our Technical Advisory Board over the years. And you can not just navigate the groups and the activities at the meetings here during the 20th plenary, the groups, all of our active groups, and all of our outputs that show up in that particular category. So I think that's an important tool for you to use and to be aware of. I would like to thank because the work of RDA is supported very much by our Technical Advisory Board. And all of our groups, all of our governance are volunteer. I like to remind everybody of that. We have a very, very small core paid staff. We have a massive group of governance board members who are all providing their time and effort voluntarily, and we are very grateful to the 15 members of the Technical Advisory Board for their work and for their contribution and their insights. So I'd like to acknowledge them because they're quite important, and they really support the Secretariat very much as well. So organizations are the second pillar of our of my family, if you like to call it, or the RDA family. And I just like to highlight for one moment organizational membership. So we have over 75 affiliate members and organizational members. It's a really fantastic group that would, and for those of you whose organizations you feel might like to be more deeply involved in the work of RDA, it is one of the few groups that has a membership fee, which is also critical to our health in terms of finances, and of course, to ensure that we can maintain as open and as free as possible all of the RDA facilities. Please don't think that we are a well-funded organisation and that it's easy for us to come by the funds. So we are very grateful to our organisational members for that. But there is a lot of benefits from being an organisational member. So I would flash it up, and we have Shelley Stoll and Louise from DANS, Shelley's from AGU, who are the co-chairs of the Organisational Assembly, and they have doubled the membership over the last couple of years with their endeavour, and we're embarking on a pilot now at the moment as part of our strategy to increase our Southern Hemispheric membership across the board, across the family, in terms of individuals, in terms of organisations, and in terms of regions. And that's, I move on then to regions and global and local. We, RDA will never be a global organization if we do not have a local footprint, a regional footprint. And regions are particularly important. And I'd like to you to reflect for one moment with me on this slide. So this is the growth of the membership, but by continent, if you wish to look at it, and over the 10 years, and it's courtesy of one of our council members, who, thank you, Juan, for generating this from data up until the end of last year. And if you note, the top arc is Europe, and then Northern America, and then we go down with the regions, and all have steady growth. But of course, there's a rather large difference in the size of the community members in those continents or regions. And that is also to do with the fact that we have funders there and regional champions. And regional champions are really the way in which we can ensure that this is a truly global organization, that we can ensure that we are actually speaking with the people on the ground, that we have we understand on a global level the national and the regional perspective. There is also, by the way, not the language that I was fortunate enough to be born to speak, but that I work in as well, that many of you don't. So how can we ensure that we can have a multilingual perspective to this, and also understand, bring what the wonderful work that you're doing down to the regions and vice versa. So there's so much, I place a lot of emphasis. To me, this is how we really can say we are global in the regions. I'd like to reflect on two regions, if I may, and we have a long-standing regional support in the United States. And Rebecca Koskela has just recently announced that she, as the Executive Director of RDA US, is retiring. And so I would like to thank you, Rebecca. I see you're sitting down the back, if you would like to wave at the others. Thank you so much. We hope, and I hope that you will, like before you took up the executive director job, continue to be a very active member of the community and not leave us, even though you might like to retire, or at least observe us from afar. But I would like to thank you for the collaboration that we have had, for the work that we have done together. And it's been pleasure and a privilege to work with you. And I look forward to working very much with the incoming US lead, Beth Plele, who is going to take over and support the RDA, our large and important community in the US. So thank you again, Rebecca, very much. And we will see you around and raise a glass together, I hope, later on. In terms of Europe, it's another important. I place no less emphasis, by the way, on our other regions across the globe, but these are two highlights I wish to give. Europe has been a long-standing supporter like the US and Australia. We had 4 funded grants in Europe, and then in discussion with the European Commission many years ago, we already knew that it was important for sustainability to be created, if you like, in Europe. So with the support of Council, I set up a European office during the pandemic time, and we were fortunate enough to get some seed funding to start a legal entity there to represent RDA in Europe. We are very, very fortunate to have a director in Adi Asmi, who came already from the research infrastructure and community. And Adi is just over a year in the job and also a wonderful collaborator of mine. It's great to be able to work together and have the same vision. And Adi has, of course, secured other funding. And now you see we have lovely pictures on the slide of other wonderful colleagues in Europe. So you will see more and more work. They have, of course, the Tiger support, which is also global. So it's European funding that can facilitate, though, our global activities and many, many others. So I think so watch out for them. Of course, you'll see them going around and things like that. But I think it's an important step for RDA in terms of sustainability to have a European office. And I hope that I'll be able to tell you in a year's time of other, if you like, established regional points. They don't have to be legal entities, by the way. There are different flavors in different regions, but it really is important for you and for your colleagues on the ground to have these regional perspectives. So you heard about the private sector collaboration. I was really quite pleased with that panel. I'm very grateful to Monica for having put it together. I hope we will see the fruits of that labor like we have seen with Oracle for Research. And I would invite you to just check that out and be involved. It will run exactly in the same way as all of our working groups done. And it will be facilitated by our wonderful Connie Clare, who is our community development manager. So it's an experiment and a pilot of working together with industry. But let's try it and let's approach it in a really positive way. So I'm very excited about it and very grateful to Oracle for giving us this opportunity to do it together. Now, my last point is to you before I move on to passing it over. Is that I realize that the web platform is chunky. I realize that it's difficult. We have had it for 10 years and it's a great little machine for its age. But I ask you, and I've heard it in many of the sessions that I have sat in, please, I don't know how to ask you this, but please, you can use Google, use anything you want, but can you please keep your group pages updated so the interested community can find where to go to find your information and to join your meetings, to be updated. I ask you that. It's not about a case statement and an output. There's a whole road in between that it's your visibility too. So I ask you this without like almost crying and begging you on bended knee, please, please, please. If you give us the information, we can give you the visibility from the Secretariat as well. Okay, so it's a win-win. That's our job, but we can't do it without your help. And now we move on to my last slide, and where we talk about this all-waiting web platform. 10 years we have a Drupal-based web platform in RDA, and I like to call it that. By the way, is my little card, the little bottom one. It's a little Fiat 500, and it's just like that. And a wonderful little card that does still get you around and works. Mine is 51 years old, just like me, and it still works, but you know, there has been, look at the Volvo cars we were heard about before, and I'm a particular fan of Ferrari, by the way. So it's time for us to move on from the little Fiat 500 to make a, how would you say, really make the online facilitation, the platform viable for you. And so now I'd like to pass over. We spent a lot of time in the Secretariat creating very specific and detailed requirements based on your feedback and based on our insights from the Secretariat. We put together a task group to help us identify the provider that we could for this new web platform. It is a massive investment by the that I am making also with not just with my own staff, but with all the in-kind staff I receive from the US, from Europe, from Canada, and from and Australia. Okay, so it's a big investment, but we believe that it will be revolutionize. So with that, I will end my slide set, and I would like to hand over to, hopefully it all is working. This is where the hybrid comes in, to Jeff Horn, who is the founder of and CEO of Wicket Industrial. Jeff, the floor is yours, and thank you for joining us from Ottawa, right?
That's right. That's right,
Okay.
Hillary. Thanks so much.
Over to you, Jeff.
Yeah, thanks so much, Hillary. Very excited to be here. Great to hear some of the amazing things going on with RDA. As mentioned, I'm in Ottawa, Canada, and we're very excited to be working with the RDA Foundation on this important project. We were actually first introduced to RDA through the Digital Research Alliance of Canada, who we're also working with now to deploy our member data platform. So very excited to be in the space. And my goal for today really is to spend no more than 15 minutes, just give you a little bit of an overview of the work that we're doing with RDA and what you can maybe expect as we navigate through the project. So if we can move to the next slide, we'll get started and talk through a few things. So great, thank you. So a little bit about us. So our company is called Wicket. We're the world's first member data platform. And so we really focus on member-based organizations. This is the work we do every day. We've been around for 23 years, actually, founded in 2000. We have an interesting journey we've been on. We actually started in web platforms, web deployments in the open source community, and over the years developed the member data platform product. So now we deliver it alongside really powerful web solutions and e-commerce solutions within the member, the field of member-based organizations. So we're really promoting this idea of using ecosystems of really powerful software tools that can meet your unique needs as an organization, but making sure they're connected together and while also having a strong foundation and hub of data. Our staff are all located here in Canada. We're spread across the country, the big country that we are here, about 30 plus staff and growing. If we move to the next slide. So as Hillary mentioned, like we went through a pretty detailed process with the RDA Foundation and the group to learn about requirements and really figure out, well, what are we trying to achieve? And there's a few really key things we heard. The first thing was, as Hillary mentioned, you're on a very legacy, chunky, I think was the word I heard used, platform today. It's running on the Drupal open source content management system, which is okay, but it's outdated what you're on. Support is ending for the version you're on. So just not a well-supported technology. And the other thing we really heard and just heard again is this importance of improving the experience, right? Like the online experience on the RDA platform today is not ideal. It's a bit dated for sure. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of information, right? So we have to really think about information architecture, taxonomy, and how we're going to make it easier. But we really want to encourage group collaboration. That's really one of the key things that we heard. And we also want to empower the people behind the scenes at RDA, the staff and volunteers working, just to better understand what's going on, get better insights, be able to make data-driven decisions about the day-to-day. And that was one of the other key things we were hearing. So if we move to the next slide, I'll jump in. I'll tell you a little bit about the member data platform and this concept we have here at Wicket. So as a member data platform, we do some really specific things. So at the core of the platform, We are about storing information about all of the members of the organization, those organizations and groups that are involved with the organization, all of the groups that are collaborating together, and rich data surrounding those. So we really want to be a hub for that data and give the RDA staff and secretariat a really easy to use place to see, update, and manage that data. From there, what's unique about the platform is it's built for integration. So it's really built to then connect that data with other software tools, such as a web-based platform, such as email marketing tools, any of the other software tools that the organization wants to use. We also record what we call touch points. So these are interactions that users are having. I'll show you a little bit more about that on the next screen. We can enable commerce. So as Hillary mentioned, like, being able to sell organizational memberships, maybe doing some simpler event registrations through the platform in addition to the primary event management platform. So we want to enable commerce for the organization and position the organization to be able to maybe even expand the commerce offerings as you go forward. And lastly, we want to unify that member experience. We want to make it easy to use the tools. We want to make it easy to log in through a single sign-on engine and just make sure we're really providing a unified experience so that the right data is in the right place at the right time. If we go to the next slide, touch points, as I mentioned, is a really key concept in Wicked. This is just showing actually a screenshot of the back office side of the product. So this is the member data platform where we're going to store the thousands of members and rich data here. Touch points are a really key piece of data that we store in the platform. So these are interactions happening, and this is going to be really rich data for RDA to be able to use to get different insights, like maybe what regions are having the most activity and engaging with groups, who's opening our email campaigns or not, who's registering for our events, and to be able to slice and dice that data. So this touchpoint data is very, very rich, gives us a lot of power for reporting and really delivering insights. And really where it leads towards is to help understand engagement. Who's engaged with the organization, and then thinking about that more broadly as well. If we jump to the next slide, we'll look at kind of the overall solution architecture for what we're putting together for RDA. Now, I won't go into the technical details here, but really what this is all about, it's about Wicked, the member data platform, as a central data repository. This is where all the people, organizations, groups, rich data is going to be held. It's going to provide a single sign-on engine as well. And from there, it's going to connect and integrate with different tools. Across the top of the screen here, we have some of the third-party software tools in use. Constant Contact will be used for email marketing. We'll synchronize that data with that platform in near real time. Wova being used for major events and the core event platform. And then, as mentioned, Zenodo, which is a platform you all are using or are going to be using as a repository. So we'll be looking to integrate and connect the right data across those systems with the core membership data in Wicked. But then there's this whole experience for you as members, and that's going to be delivered through the WordPress content management system and extending it with WooCommerce, which is the commerce engine of WordPress. So this is where our team has a lot of expertise. We deploy the member data platform, which is like a core back office software, but then we enable WordPress and WooCommerce and integrate it all very, very tightly. So your experience as members will be on WordPress, and we're really going to be looking to not only empower RDA to be able to manage the web platform with ease, but to really deliver a really great member experience, a very thoughtfully designed member experience with that underlying platform being WordPress. Ideally, we'll be looking to connect the commerce engine right to the financial system that is used by RDA. And then we'll also be connecting it with Tableau, which is a very powerful BI and reporting software. And that's where we're going to be able to deliver a lot of really great insights to the RDA team and staff. So if we move on from there, there were a couple of websites and web platforms that came up during our discussions with RDA that gave us inspiration. So Force 11 is one of those. So this is another organization very, very focused on group collaboration. And this is really the core of what we're doing, the core of what we're building for RDA is a great web platform that's going to allow you not only to become a member, for organizations maybe to pay for membership and manage that, but to really provide a platform for group collaboration. So Force 11 was one example of a platform using the same core technologies that we're going to be using, WordPress and some of the extensions of WordPress. And if we go to the next screen, The Humanities Commons was another platform that's very, very similar. So, again, now this one from a design standpoint, I think isn't really what we're going to be hitting with RDA, but really the core functionality here of really having a group-centric web platform that is really built around collaboration and using a lot of the same tools. So these were some of the web platforms that came up during our discussions with RDA to really use as inspiration for what we're going. And really, as we navigate this, and we're now through thinking about like information architecture design and getting into the actual user experience design process, is going to be all about really creating thoughtful experiences for you as members and delivering a really refined user experience that is just all about reducing friction for you and making it easy for you to engage with RDA. So just a couple more slides. If we jump to the next one, it's a very guided process that we're taking the organization through. A project like this, as Hillary says, it's a significant investment. It's a big project. It takes many, many months to go through the entire process. And so really, there's just a lot of deep discovery work that has to be done for our team to understand the organization, the goals, what we're doing, and the workflows. How is this all going to work? Thinking about how to architect the information that's going to be presented on the website and how that's going to be designed. So this certainly isn't a point and click and just, here you get what you get. It's a very thoughtful process that we're taking the organization through to really make sure that we're understanding the users, understanding the functionality needed and the goals behind that functionality and delivering. And it's a process of configuration and technical development and design and data migration and reporting. So there's a lot of streams of work that all kind of come together towards what will be an eventual launch of the new platform. And if we move to the next slide, really what to expect when we launch the new platform. Well, as mentioned, you're going to see a completely newly redesigned rdalliance.org website. It's not going to look the way it looks today. I can promise you that. There's going to be, a new information architecture, a new navigational structure, really a completely new user experience and design. Really improved group collaboration, as I said it a few times now. This is really the core of what we're delivering. So really making sure that's being thoughtfully done, that we're using the right approaches to that. We'll be looking to enable e-commerce for certain types of functions. As Hillary mentioned, like your individual membership is free. Some of those organizational memberships will be paid memberships. So we want to enable commerce within the platform and get any workflows set up in the short term to enable that. And we're going to integrate them. All right, we want to, connect the rich data of RDA with other systems such as email marketing, the event management, with your research repository into Zenodo. So a lot of really interesting connections and integrations. And at the end of the day, in addition to providing a great external experience, we're trying to create efficiencies in every way we can for the staff and volunteers. As Hillary mentioned, it's not a huge organization, so we really want to leverage technology to create efficiencies and try to automate tasks where automation makes sense, right, to the greatest extent possible. And I think that's the end. Yeah, thank you. So thanks everybody. As I mentioned, very happy and excited to be working with RDA, Hillary, and the team. It's been a great experience for us so far, and really looking forward to continuing the journey and working towards the launch of the new platform.
Thank you, Jeff. Yes, I have to say that it's a hard work, but it's a great pleasure. It's a wonderful team of people with and inspires honestly true confidence. I'm really excited about it. You can tell, can't you? I really am. I can't wait until we get there, but it's been a very nice journey, and I'm grateful to you, Jeff, because I don't think I could explain it as well, but I hope that you in the audience are feeling as energized and as excited about it, because it really will change our lives, I think, in RDA. Yeah, it will make it so much easier for you to find what you're looking for and then make all the connections. Are there any questions for Jeff before we let him go back to the designing the RDA web platform? Oh, there's a question from online. So let me just see if I can read it right here in the chat. There's loads of questions in there, isn't it? How flexible will the new web platform be? Will it be, for example, possible to create subgroups within national nodes? They're the regional, we're going to be calling them regional groups going forward. We've removed the national node. Do you know the answer to that question? I think I might, but you probably do, Jeff.
Well, yeah, Hillary, you go ahead first and tell me what you think, and then I'll tell you what I think.
Right. I believe that our aim is to try and provide a similar structure across. So if the groups have a certain workflow process, be them an interest group or a working group, and the regions a similar, if you like, look and feel to them, so that we don't, create too many beasts. But we have worked, we hope to have captured quite well the requirements from the different types of groups. So we know what working groups need. We know what interest groups needs. Regions have a completely different, I think, requirement. But I do understand that it's quite flexible, right, Jeff?
Yeah, that's really the whole intent. The intent is to have flexibility and to allow different types of group structures and functionality within those groups. So yeah, in terms of how that kind of flows down, Hillary, I think there's probably still some discussion to be had there, but certainly the goal is flexibility.
Okay, and I will give you this last one and then I'm going to have to move on. But it says, to my understanding, openness and transparency, and you're right, it is a very good understanding, are among the key values of RDA. And what kind of business model does Wicket have? But it's part of, you go ahead there, Jeff.
Yeah, happy to speak to that for sure. So, we're of course a private corporation, a for-profit corporation operating here in Canada. So we kind of have two core pieces to our business. We have our member data platform, which is a proprietary software platform delivered as software as a service, and that is a licensed product that we sell. And then we couple that with the use of really powerful open source technology. Open source is really our background, it's where we come from. And so at our core, a lot of the work we do is in leveraging open source content management systems and web platforms. So it's a combination of delivering a licensed product that allows us to really effectively serve our customer alongside really flexible open source platforms and technology to help deliver that to member-based organizations. So,
Jeff, thank you very much for joining us, and see you soon.
Hillary, thanks for having me. This was great.
Okay, so I'm going to move on very quickly because we are running over time, quite a bit over time. I think in the message that the update on what was happening today, we were talking about interactivity in this particular part of the session. We may not get to that, but what is really important is to understand what are the next steps in terms, apart from the web platform and what's happening this year, what do the next 5 years look like? So I would like to ask the wonderful Jill Ben, who's the University Librarian of the University of Western Australia, Perth, and also our RDA Council co-chair, and Ingrid Dillu, the Deputy Director of the Data and Archiving and Network Services from the Netherlands, and the other co-chair of the RDA Council, to please join me. Well, come on the stage. I will leave it to you to give insights into the strategic plan from 2024 to 2028.
So first of all, thank you very much for still being in the room and sticking this out, because I'm very well aware that this has been a long day and that this has been a long session. So thank you very much for being here. Jill and I will speak about the strategy, and I would like to start with a few words about Council and setting the scene for this last part of today a little bit. So this picture, I think, is important for everybody to have in your mind. We try to distinguish between the work of RDA and the business of RDA. The work of RDA is really the core of the organization. This is you, the community of 13,000 plus individuals, volunteer experts that we have, that work together in birds of a feather sessions, in working groups, interest groups, and communities of practice. And all of that leading to recommendations and outputs that facilitate open sharing and reuse of data. But that work of RDA can't happen if we don't have the business of RDA to facilitate all of that. And we need to remember that also in that business part of RDA, we have a lot of volunteers to make all of this happen. So I have here on the slide the different bodies that we have. So we have, of course, the funders that support us, and they come together in the Funders Forum. We have our different regions, another type of entity within RDA. They come together in the Regional Assembly. And we have, and Hilary spoke about them, our organizational members that come together in the Organizational Assembly. Then within RDA, we have the Technical Advisory Board that Hilary showed that really support the work of the groups. We have the wonderful Secretariat, and then there is also Council. So this is really the quick overview of the whole organization. So I think both for the work of RDA as well as the business of RDA, we are really trying to stick to and live by our very important guiding principles that you have seen on the slides multiple times already. So I'm not going to dive into this, but I do want to stress that that is really very important. So in that context, what is the role of Council? Council is the highest strategic body within the organization and is responsible, as you can see here, for the oversight, the strategy, the business, and the sustainability of the organization. And of course, for ensuring that the vision and the principles are maintained. So that is the core of the role that we have. And when you zoom in on strategy, you will see, if you go to the governance document that we have available on the website for everybody to have a look at and see the details, we are responsible as Council to set the strategic direction for the organization and also disseminate that and evolve that through strategic plans. Now, those strategic plans, we very much need your input into that. And hopefully you already noticed that we have asked that input both through Mentimeter online and also through the lovely wall that we have in the coffee area, the rainbow wall, where you can also add sticky notes with your ideas. So who is Council? Here you can see a snapshot from our website where the elected Council members are shown. As you can see, we have 9 elected Council members at the moment, and we have a 10th member representing the legal entity host of the RDA Foundation. But here you see a picture of the group that we had in the room on Monday when we had the Council meeting. And there you see more people than the 9 elected Council members, because within the Council meetings, when we have a full meeting, we also have the 2 chairs of the different boards. So the Regional Advisory Board, the Organizational Advisory Board, and the tab. So, and then with the secretarial support, we are a very nice group of 20 people who had a lovely face-to-face meeting last Monday after many years. On this slide, you also see that we will have elections for new Council members coming up. So I would like to ask all of you to vote and make use of that opportunity. The voting opens on the 20th of April and closes on the 12th of May. So if we have Council elections, unfortunately, that also means that we have to say goodbye to 3 wonderful Council members, volunteers who have put over the last couple of years a lot of their volunteer time, expertise and experience to the greater good of this organization. And I want to call them out here, and maybe they can stand up because I see at least 2 of them. Edith Herzog, Sandra Collins, and I see Bob as well, Bob Hainish, and I would like to ask you to give them a big hand of applause for all that they have done for this organization. Thank you so much. And with that, I hand over to Jill for the strategy.
Thanks very much, Ingrid, and good evening, everyone. I'm conscious that I'm really standing in between you and dinner. And so I'll try and make this fairly short and sweet, but I did just want to start, those of Australians that are in the audience and those of you who visited Australia know that we acknowledge the traditional owners of where we live. And I did really want to acknowledge the Whadjuk Noongar people from Boorloo in Perth, where I live. But more importantly, I really wanted to thank the Swedish people who've done an incredible job of welcoming us here to Gothenburg. So please give them a round of applause. So I'm just going to spend the next few minutes telling you a little bit about what Council is planning in terms of our next strategic plan, but also importantly, to let you know that we really want your help and we really want to engage with the community about what's next for RDA. Before I do that, I just wanted to stop and reflect on what an incredible few years it's been on Council. We've encountered a number of challenges over the last couple of years, and we've really thrived under our current strategy. And I think that really serves us really well for the future. Yesterday was a real celebration of the Research Data Alliance, but many of the speakers talked about how much has changed in the last 10 years, but perhaps more importantly, how much more will change in the next 10 and much more rapidly. And in that context, a robust strategy for the organisation is incredibly important. So in terms of the process for the strategy, for the next strategy, we're really at the beginning and we're allowing ourselves really the next 6 months to develop that strategy. And it's really only been in the last couple of months that Council has started to discuss the strategy, and we've started to define some pillars or themes that we think are going to be incredibly important to the success of the organisation. And I'll share those with you shortly. Here in Gothenburg, we've got a great opportunity to engage with you, our community, and also those of you who are online. And Ingrid talked about that. I'll talk about that in a moment. Over the coming months, we'll start to really analyse that feedback, but also feedback from our council to really start to develop a really robust strategy that we plan to release to coincide with IDW in Salzburg. That will then enable us to really launch the strategy come 2024. So as I said, Council has really been thinking and discussing about the pillars or themes that will be really important for the success of the organisation. And I just wanted to very briefly share these pillars with you. So the first is globalise, and we've heard a lot about the importance of global solutions because we have global challenges. And RDA is an incredibly important global community. Hilary just talked about the importance of our regions, and under our next strategy, we really want to think about how we can strengthen that regional engagement. What can we learn from best practice we've seen in our regions, and how can we replicate that elsewhere? The second pillar is sustain. And this is one of Council's key roles. We spend many hours talking about the sustainability of the organisation, but it's incredibly important because without the resources we need, and we're very fortunate to have an amazing secretariat that does an amazing job with a small amount of resource, but making sure our organisation is sustainable is really important. And so this pillar is really about optimising our financial processes and ensuring that we are really building the Research Data Alliance for the long term and the future. The third pillar is lead. And this really reflects the need to ensure that we're developing leaders for the future. And the Council believes that we really need to increase the emphasis on our early career researchers and early career professionals, and we've been referring to them as early career individuals. How can we really engage them in RDA? How can we go to the spaces where they are to engage them? So that's our third pillar. And the last is innovate. We know that to solve some of the challenges we're going to encounter over the next 10 years, we're going to have to be innovative. The organisation is going to have impact. So there are 4 pillars. So the last thing I really wanted to let you know is that we want your help. We want your feedback. And we have defined 4 key questions, which you can see here on the slide. How can the RDA become more global? How can the RDA maintain organisational sustainability? How can the RDA engage early career individuals? And how can the RDA remain impactful in the research data landscape? There are 2 ways you can give us feedback, and thank you to those of you who've already done that. I've been reading through some of the Menti feedback over the last 24 hours, and it's really incredible and rich to see some of the ideas and suggestions there. But please do engage with us. You can see the wonderful Connie Claire there standing in front of the rainbow wall. So please do take the opportunity to give us feedback, either here in Gothenburg or online. We really appreciate it. So we look forward to your feedback, which we will be reading over the next couple of weeks. And we very much look forward to sharing updates on the strategy as it continues to develop. Thank you. I think we have a couple of minutes for
questions. It's too late for questions. I go on. Oh, there's a question. Bruce, did you go? Thank you, Alex.
I'm Paul Hansen from the University of Wisconsin, and I run, or at least used to run, for about a decade, a global organization of lake observatories. And we also confronted this: how do we engage the next generation? Developing a student association. So my question for you is, how many students are part of RDA?
You know, that's an excellent question. And one of the things that we talked about at the council meeting on Monday is that for a data organisation, we make terrible use of our own data. So I don't know if Hilary knows how many students we have in our organisation. That is something we should know. And I can see she's madly looking it up right now. But obviously our new web platform is really going to enable us to make better use of our own data. But I think it's an excellent point. They are the next generation. We need to really be enabling them with best practice open science. Thank you.
So if I could answer, we do actually have that piece of data, but I don't have it to hand. So I apologize, but I will make sure you get it. But it's a good question. And if with the web platform would allow us to do that, to know that much more quickly. But I do know we do collect that piece.
Any other questions? No. All right, well, with that, I'll say thank you very much. We look forward to seeing you at dinner this evening.
Thank you. On the just a quick reminder on the dinner. So if you have, there are no extra places, I'm afraid. If you have the plate, please go to, there's a QR code on the bottom of the program outside, just beside the registration desk. If you want to get the instructions as how to get there, it starts at 7:15. Okay. Thank you.